Hey everybody, welcome to Gootz's Disney Pod. This is actually the last episode of Gootz's Disney Pod because we're changing the format. Next week, we're going to change it to Gootz's Wrestling Pod, and we're going to have Andrew Lee as the co-host. We're going to be reviewing all of the old school wrestling pay-per-views from 83 up until today, one a week. WCW, WWF, WWE, TNA, ECW, AEW. We're starting with Starrcade 83, the granddaddy of them all, which I think is going to be a very interesting episode because this is wrestling before Vince McMahon put his vision on top of it. So it'll be kind of fun to see what I've never seen Starrcade 83. It's going to be fun to see what wrestling promoters thought a big wrestling event was supposed to be like before WrestleMania. So that's the first episode. The reason why I'm stopping the Disney podcast is because, it was getting harder and harder. I had originally had a vision that every week would be a different comedian. Every single week there would be no repeat comedians. And that got really hard to do. By the time I got to the end of the Pixar season, my numbers went down during the Pixar season. That's because a lot of the guests, I thought didn't bring a lot to the Pixar movies. And then I decided to do the live action remakes and bring the guests back to do the live action remakes. And then I just started bringing the same people kind of back. And I don't know. It just it started off as a good idea, but it was becoming a struggle to find. I'm trying to not do the Marvel movies. I was delaying doing the Marvel films because I know once I did the Marvel films, I was going to be out of anything I really was truly passionate about. And I was rapidly getting to the point where I have to do the rest of the Marvel films because I was going to do High School Musical, right? That was the next thing I was going to do. I was going to do all 3 High School Musicals. And I hit up this comic who I really wanted for the High School Musical podcast, and she goes "Oh, I don't really do podcasts." And I was like, "Okay." And then I was like, "Well, I don't want to ask old people because I felt like people my age. Oh, there's honking in the background. People my age are just gonna be like, "Oh, fucking stupid. That was fucking stupid." Because that's how I feel. I watched High School Musical 2 once, and it was fucking stupid. And I don't want that for all the episodes. I want someone who actually liked these movies as a kid. And now we're getting to the age where the 20-year-olds who are starting comedy, they grew up on High School Musical. And oh boy, this is great, all this honking. And once the person I really wanted, the person I thought would have the most insight was like, "I don't do podcasts." I was like, "Why am I doing this? Why am I looking to do a podcast about High School Musical when there's no enthusiasm from anyone to do a podcast about High School Musical?" But there is enthusiasm from Andrew Lee and people like the rapport when we did our wrestling stuff on the Goots cast. So that's what we're going to do. Anyway, that's my big intro. If you're just a fan of Disney, you're disappointed, well, send me a message. Because if I get enough messages from people being like, "Hey, I like the format," send me emails, send me tweets, send me Instagram DMs. I might change my mind. But for now, it's I'm not getting the response I wanted. I'm putting a lot of money into this podcast. I'm not getting any advertising. This is purely a labor of love. And it's time to actually, do something a little bit more fun. So that's what I'm going to be doing. But for the last episode, I'm not talking about anything Disney related. Today is December 30th, 2022. It's 11 a.m. And what I want to talk about is the last 20 years of my life, because tomorrow is the final day Caroline's on Broadway will be in business. They may move to a different location. They may do nothing. But for all intents and purposes, they're done. I don't think another location will help them unless they are in a casino, and in order to collect your winnings, you have to go to a show there or get shot in the head. It's the only way I could see that becoming an upgrade. I think for all intents and purposes, they are finished. So I want to talk about the last 20 years of my life. More importantly, the last 3 years of when this podcast was going on. We've alluded to what happened, especially in the Little Mermaid episode, but I wanted to talk very openly and honestly because I do kind of feel like this is a turning point. I want to say in my life, but in also the city and in the New York comedy scene, but also for me, because I've had a lot of people post. I've seen a lot of people post on Facebook or Instagram how much Caroline's meant to them, and what an important part it was in their life, or how they'll never forget that they believed in them. And it was an important part of my life, and I kind of feel like I think people are being murdered outside. There's probably a zombie apocalypse going on when doing this podcast. The guy went, oh, and I heard some running. Because if anyone can say Caroline's was an important part of their lives, if anyone should have any ownership over that venue and these past 20 years, it's me. I feel like it's me more than anyone else. Because I'm the only person in the city to be successful in two fronts, which is as a comedy club manager there and as a comedian. No one else has really done the career path I've done. No one else has seen everything from all the sides. There are people who are great comedy club managers. There are people who are great comedians, but there's very few people who have done both and at such a high level. And I did it. And I never feel like I get my proper flowers from the world on this. So let me give you a little bit of background, and then I'm going to tell you the drama I had, and we're going to make if you want a brief summary, I'm going to give you a background. I'm going to tell you why I got banned from there in 2020, and then I'm going to tell you my mission statement going into 2023. Not with the wrestling podcast, but with everything in general. So long story long. When I was in college, I met this kid named Brandon Michalowski. He was a friend of my buddy Tommy McNamara. I think they were even roommates when they had the Marymount was an interesting college because it had dorms in Roosevelt Island. It had dorms in the city, 92nd Street. So you kind of like, you were dorming, but you kind of like were living like a regular life in the city, which I think is really cool. I think that's better than dorming because right away you're getting a taste of the real world while you're going to college. I was home with my parents. So when I was graduating college, I didn't know what I was going to do. I don't even remember what my plan was. Like, I can't tell you what I thought my plan was in like February. I graduated college in June of 2023. If you asked me in January 2023, I don't know if I even had a plan or if I think I was just going to keep working at the college. I don't even know. But anyway, I didn't really want to go to college. That's the other thing. But anyway, Brandon Milowski towards the end was like, hey, I can get you a job at Caroline's if you want it. I know you're graduating soon. Just answering phones, but it's a way in. And I wanted to do stand-up, but I had never attempted it. And in my mind, I'm like, all right, well, if I want to do stand-up, if I want to be in this world, I should start working in this world. And I got a job answering phones, and they had a little booth. I think they still have this little booth. It was cold in the winter and hot as balls in the summer, and I answered phones there. And around 2005, I was made the part-time manager, Christmas 2005. Then around the summer of 2006, I was made... No, I was still a part-time manager, but I had a specific day. I had Sunday, so we would call it Sunday Night Goots. And I would show movies while the people set up the room, which I remember like being threatened. I remember the other manager being like, I'm going to tell them that you show movies. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry. So I set up the room. They can't watch fucking Iron Man or something. Oh, Iron Man wasn't out yet. Lady in the Lake, X-Men The Last Stand. They can't watch 20 minutes of that while they're setting up the room. What a horrible thing to do. So that place was so weird. So I was the manager there. Then in 2008, the full-time manager quit, the guy who would do the weekdays. He just quit in the middle of the night, and they asked me to take over as the full-time manager, and I did. And initially, I was going to do it for a little bit, and then, I'll be honest, I don't like taking orders from people. I don't like being under anyone. I kind of like being my own boss, and even though I did have bosses there, they would leave, and then I would be my own boss, and I would get things done on my own time, and I was in charge of the whole place. And at night, and I liked that, and I really didn't want to go back to not. I really didn't want to go back to, if I'm at work, I want to work at my own pace. I don't want to be So I kind of was like, no, I think I could do both. I think I could do stand up and manage. This is in 2008. And I couldn't. I mean, I did stand up. I did it a lot back then, 2 days a week. And I got as many spots as I could in those 2 days. But I mean, I don't know. Like I would get to a certain point where I'd be doing really well, and then I would have to take like 9 days off because they booked like a huge headliner. So I never really gained traction. Um, and I wasn't paid well. I was paid $400 after taxes, and I knew I wasn't paid well. And they wouldn't give me a raise, and the only way I could, I mean, literally, if I didn't live at home, I couldn't have even afforded to work this job. And I worked long, long hours. I really did. I worked more than any other manager they had there at the time. Don't let anyone tell you different. I was there all the time. And my mom wouldn't let me quit. My mom thought like this was the job. And I remember I had an incident in 2014 and I didn't want to go back. And my mom made me go back. I was very disappointed in my mother. All right. Around 2015, my mom dies. And I decide I'm going to leave because if my dad died and I still had this job, I was not going to be able to support myself. And because my dad after my mom died, my dad really didn't want to live. He was like, he fucking hated life. And I'm glad I quit then because my dad needed me during the day. He needed me. He needed like, he lasted 2.5 years past my mom dying, and I think he was happy for at least a year and a half. Like we had a little happy life here in the house, and he needed me. He needed me around during the day, keeping him upbeat, and we had some good times. So I'm glad I quit. And we thought we're gonna be tight for money because I'm quitting to go into stand up full time. And I was paid so little that like even one or two stand up gigs, I was making the same amount of money. And soon enough, I started doing like selling things on eBay, and I had this web series that was doing good in the ad revenue, and I was actually doing better than when I had a full-time job, and I could be there for my dad all the time. And that's not an indication of how successful I was. It was just how little I was being paid to be a full-time manager. That's just the way it is. So then around same time 2015, they asked me to do Monday Night Goots, and that was basically the bringer show, Linda Smith. And I was like, okay. And the thing about it is that, I was doing it because Linda Smith wasn't doing well and I wanted to help her out. And also like I said, I don't want this to just be a bringer show. I want this to be a show where we get new people in. And there were new people in. We got people in like Tim Dillon, Aaron Berg. I was able to get them seen, Ali Colbert. A lot of people are doing really well. I was able to get them seen and get them past there. Because I didn't want this to be like you bring, because so many of these bringer shows is you bring, and then we throw you out in the street, and I didn't want to be like that. So, I tried to make it like that, and things were going well for years. I did Monday Night Goots from 2015 to 2020. And then they also had me help run the March Madness contest, which for years they had it fixed. And I was like, no, it needs to go back to audience voting because that makes for a more fun show. I like the unpredictability of that contest because in the first round, it's anyone's game. And I think stuff like that makes it fun. And I mean, that's what these contests are for. They're to have fun. I don't like people like sweating or losing sleep over those things. We should just have them to have fun. And that was my philosophy, at least. I don't know what anyone else's was. So I had the contest, and it came to the end of 2019, the beginning of 2020, and they said to me, you just pick everyone for the contest this year. You just do it. And I was like, we're all too busy. I was like, okay, cool. Now, what I like to do with these contests, I like to pick established people I know that should be seen, and people that I'm friends with. Oh, you book your friends. No, but if you have a funny friend, they should be in this, and also I also like to find people that I didn't know, that I don't know, that I've heard are good, or I ask comics who I respect, like Eagle Witt and Nico White, who they thought was funny, and I would get them in the contest as well. because that's the way it should be. This is an opportunity to get past. This is an opportunity to be seen. And maybe someone that I don't know, but someone that Eagle Wit recommends could win the whole thing. And I think that's kind of fun. Again, like this is all about having fun and every year I feel like there should be a new crop of people coming into a club. It shouldn't just be the same 10 people at the club over and over and over again. And I think something like this where you bring in 64 people and maybe one guy wins, but 4 to 10 comics are now in the rotation. I think that's a cool model. So I picked all the comics, and at the time, there was this podcast called Keith and the Girl. Now, Keith and the Girl used to be a big podcast, and nobody listens to them anymore. They have like a few dedicated fans. I have a podcast. I listen to a podcast called The Laps Fan, and by listening to the podcast, you would think they have millions of fans. Then you go to their Twitter engagement. They got 2 likes. the guy on Instagram, one of the hosts, has like 1,000 followers. But they have like a really dedicated like couple of hundred people, which is better than having. They make a lot of money on the podcast, I think, the Laps Fan. And I enjoy it. I get a big kick out of it. I'll listen to them when I'm working out. They're very much on their own planet. But I enjoy the shit out of the Laps Fan. And I'm sure the fans of Keith and the Girl enjoy that. But it's not a big podcast. Nobody gives a shit anymore. It used to be. So they asked me on because I used to do these Facebook rants, and I still do, but I don't do them as much as I used to. But I did a Facebook rant about how much I hate the movie Cats. I saw Cats on Christmas Day 2019. Merry Christmas. And they asked me to come on. I went on, and of course, they have to bring up the virgin thing. Now, let's also go into this because this is the 20-year journey. I was a virgin for many years. Up until 2018, I was a virgin, and then I went to the bunny ranch and lost my virginity. And that was, well, I started working out in 2019. And then in 2021, thanks to my friendship with Natalie Cuomo, I got 1 tattoo, and that is turned into 26. And originally, I think people thought I was getting them to like impress Natalie Cuomo or kind of copy her. I've kind of gone off my own direction. I used to like the first 2 or 3 tattoos would be like, hey, Natalie, what do you think of this? Natalie, now I just go and I get whatever I want, and I really like getting them. And to be honest with you, the combination of working out and staying in some type of shape and eating a little bit better. I mean, this Christmas, ever since my dad was sick, I get that KFC on Christmas Eve. Because what I had on Christmas Day, I had KFC because my dad was in the hospital, and I had to get him food early, so he got Subways. So I had KFC. I didn't want Subways that day, so I always try to have KFC on Christmas Day. It's just kind of like a sad little tradition, but I kind of like it. I don't know. It just keeps you humble. But so I do try to eat like shit around this time of year, and also Thanksgiving, because like it's like whatever. But between then, like today I had egg whites. Between then, I try to eat healthy and stuff. And I will say that the combination, I'm dating more. And I was dating more in early 2020 because I had lost the weight, not as much as I'm dating now. But I am dating more, and I don't post about it. And I'm shooting my shot more, and I don't mind rejection. I used to be terrified of rejection, and I don't care anymore. I just go for it, and if you're not interested, and I move on. So I've changed. I'm not the person I was when I wrote that article in 2018. I wrote an article about how great it was to be a virgin in 2014. I'm not that guy either. I'm a different guy. I'm like a regular guy. But I think people still have it in their head that I had all those years of being that guy. And, when I go on dates, I don't bring that stuff up. I know one girl Googled me and found the article, but she had no clue that I was that I was a guy who was a virgin for so long when we met. But I don't post about it on social media. I don't talk about it. I don't make lovey-dovey posts to whoever I'm with. I keep it very private. And I like it like that. I like people not knowing my business. But they started grilling me about that. And they had it in their head, especially Hemda, that I was some type of fucking loser. And at the time, I started bragging about the fact that I hooked up with a girl recently. And they said hooking up is just having sex. And it's not. Hooking up is you hook up. You kissed, you finger each other. I don't know. You fucking smell her butthole. Any type of like quasi-sexual activity is hooking up. That's the way we define it in New York. Anyone who tells you hooking up is only sex is a fucking idiot. If you sex, you say, yeah, I had sex. Hookup is anything. All right? And that's the way it is. So I really didn't like it. They were not friends of mine. They had a preconceived notion of me. I don't know where it came from. They were aggressive about it. And I didn't like doing it. But I was told by other comics that it's a really good podcast to do and you should do it again. So they asked me to do the 24-hour marathon to come on at 5 in the morning. And I'm like, well, I got to get my name out there. So I decided to do it again. Now, I had been drinking that whole night, and I stayed up. It was my birthday the day before, and I kind of had a weird birthday dinner. I don't know. It was just like it was weird, the whole thing. So I wasn't happy that day, but I went and did the fucking podcast. And on the podcast, Hemda, the woman, says to me, the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. Don't you think if you moved out of your parents' house faster, you would have got laid more? Don't you wish you spent less time with your mother? Like, something like, don't you wish you spent less time with your mother? My mother died when I was 34, all right? I'm going on 8 years without my mother. I'm going to spend the rest of my life without my mother. I have plenty of time without my mother right now. And I'm doing pretty good sexually, okay? To be honest with you, my mother wasn't the fucking problem. I was the problem in my 20s. And I went, well, that's kind of fucking stupid. No, why would I want less time with my mother? What the fuck are you talking about? What kind of stupid question is that? Why would I want less time with my mother? And they were like, well, did you ever fight with your mother? And I was like, yes, we fought about me. I wanted to quit Caroline's, and she wouldn't let me. And, the big thing was when I had the incident, and my mom wouldn't let me quit. And, well, they're grilling me about it. And I start going on about how I didn't make any money there, how there was no security, because there wasn't. And how, like, all this stuff. And, they're also acting like being a manager there wasn't a hard job. And it was. Everyone thinks running a comedy club is super fucking easy. They just think it's a bunch of fucking... it should be. That's the thing. It should be easy. But a lot of times it's not, because especially when you have a kitchen and when you have a bar, it's a lot of work. So I did this podcast and I forgot about it. And I was also trying to be open, honest, and funny, because that's the thing. Like, I'm a comedian. I'm kind of just laying it down right now. I'm not really trying to be funny. I do wish I had a co-host for this, because that would make it funnier. But like, I just couldn't get anyone in time, and I just want to make one more episode before we switch to wrestling. At the time, trying to be fucking funny. I'm trying to be fucking interesting, And the assistant booker, who's a fucking loser, he heard it because he's a comedy nerd. He listens to the episode, and then I guess he played it for his former assistant, who is another fucking weirdo. They play it, and they went to Lewis, who's the booker there. They told him about the podcast, and he banned me. And I got it. I mean, I was like, whatever, but like, I was like, hey, like, I'm just trying to be funny. I'm just trying to be interesting here on the podcast, and I'm a comedian. And to be honest with you, I do feel like if they respected me as a comedian, all of these people, I don't think I would have been banned from there. I think that, they, especially, I think, like, the two assistant bookers had in their head that just should be lucky that I was there. That I should, and the reality is they should be lucky that they found me, because they had the best manager they ever had, and they got him at Beyond the Steel, and I felt like I was taken advantage of. I was paid, but what was I paid? You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like I was taken advantage of all those years, and they're actually lucky they had me, and it's very much gaslighting. Like, you did something to hurt me in 2014. I didn't want to go back, and I shouldn't have. My mom told me to go back. And when I'm open and honest about it, and that's the thing, it's not like I liked the guy. I liked everyone there at the time. I was very happy having the show there. I wasn't angry, hey, okay, you paid me nothing, but I accepted it. When you said no raise, I should have got up and left. I didn't. That's on me. So I don't have problems with this. But, and I'm going to be open and honest. Like, hey, yeah, I wasn't happy when I was the manager, and I wasn't happy when he did this. But we're cool now. They never let me get to the cool now because they were just being fucking dicks who had their own narrative. They were trying to force it on me. But I had no problem. I actually really like Lewis, which makes, what I'm going to say at the end sadder. So, but like I tried to explain to Lewis, he wouldn't listen to me. Now there's still the matter of March Madness. We still have 64 comedians coming up. And then I get an email from his assistant at the time that I need to make a spreadsheet with all the comedians' emails. Now this guy knows a lot of the comedians on my fucking show. He's on Facebook, he's on Twitter, he's on Instagram. He can message people like Melissa Diaz. He can message Natalie Cuomo and be like, what's your email address? It's not that fucking hard. So in my mind, you ban me. Now you want me to keep doing work on a project that I'm not going to make any money from and I'm not going to fucking benefit from. Like, you ban me and I basically worked for nothing as the manager. Now you want me to keep doing work for nothing after you ban me. I'm not allowed to be on that stage. I'm not allowed to go inside the club. I'm basically persona non grata, but you want me to keep doing work. And I said, Lewis, I'll do it for you, but I want to talk to you. I want to work out what's going on. And I also sent him a gift card for his dog, right? They go, well, he doesn't want to talk to you. Get the work done. And I was like, I'm not responding. And then a week later, and this is where it goes to unforgivable. This is where we're going to take a turn on the podcast. A week later, the assistant booker says to me, if you don't get these emails done, we're going to take everybody out of the contest and replace them. All right, now here's the deal. And this is where I'm going to get a little fucking mad. And this is why today and tomorrow I have a lot of fucking glee. Okay? You want to ban me. You don't want to book me. You don't want me at your club. You don't like me. You don't like what I say in a podcast. You don't like what I do. You don't believe in me. That's fine. You don't believe in me. That's fine. That's okay. You don't think I'm a comic. You think I'm some jerk off who just had a fucking show at your club. That is fine. That's fine, okay? But this minute you try to fuck me with everyone in the city, because let me tell you something. When these comedians are told you can't be in comedians used to cry when they got eliminated from March Madness, all right? When you tell these comedians you can't be in the contest because of Ray Goots, because da-da-da-da, and I go and sit down and try to explain to these people why they're not in the contest, who are they going to blame? Who are they going to hold it against? They're not going to hold it against Caroline's because they're going to want to play that club eventually. They're not going to fucking be mad at Caroline's. They're going to hold it against me. So now you're trying to fuck me with everybody. And that is not deserved after all these years. That is malicious and that is fucking evil. And you should be ashamed of yourself because this guy could have made the email list. You did that on purpose to fuck me. So the way I got everyone's email was I tagged everyone on Facebook and said, you are definitely 100% in the contest. Email Caroline's your email address. Now, this was all for moot because the contest was never finished because of COVID. But I look back now, almost 3 years later, and to me that is unforgivable because again, there's people I don't book, there's people I don't think are funny or I don't believe in or I wouldn't recommend. But I'm not going to try to hinder their career. If they make it, if I don't think you're funny and you make it, I don't hold that against you. If I think you have zero talent and then you sell out fucking Madison Square Garden in 10 years, that's fine because you did it. You fucking found a way. You proved me wrong. I didn't help you, but I'm not going to hinder you because I feel like that is real because we're all out here on our own, man. We're all this career, this path we have, we're on our own. We all are. Every comedian is. I think that's why some comedians get weird when they get big. We're all out on our own. And sometimes people we think are our friends are not our friends, which I found out 3 years ago. And we're all out here on our own, man. And to try to hinder me, because that's what that was. That was twisting the knife to hinder me like that is unfucking forgivable in my book. That is unfucking forgivable, okay? And now that you're going under, I'm allowed to be happy about that. I'm allowed to be like, good. Because everyone's crying now. But let's see what happens in 6 months, okay? So, here's the thing. When people used to get banned or fired from there, they had this attitude like, oh, that person's just going to go away, da-da-da-da. They thought like, because they really do think they're the only place in town. And I didn't go away. I have a show at the Stand. I'm doing shows at Hartford Funny Bone. I play everywhere. I'm doing it. I go to L.A. I'm doing it, man. And despite you. And that's the thing, you know, like, I always felt like I was being taken advantage of there. I always felt like I was being gaslit there. I always felt like I was being underappreciated. Not by my other employees, not by the comics there, by Lewis. By him, by the booker. And you know, seeing the out, and then like also his assistants, I felt the same way. And you know, seeing like everyone reached out to me when this place closed down. So many people reached out to me. So many people thanked me for giving them stage time. So many people sent me messages. So many people. It was like I tried to, you know, when I got banned from there, I was like annoyed because people still associate me with the place. They still thought I worked there, which I didn't. I just had a show. But I was more that place than a lot of other people that think they were that place. I was the heart of that place. A lot of people I hired met their wives there. A lot of people I hired have children because I hired them there. They have lifelong friends. I got comedians in, and those comedians parlayed that first like thumbs up into getting other things and becoming huge stars. And I never felt like I got the credit from them. And now that it's closing, I'm giving myself the credit. I'm sitting here saying I was the fucking one that made that place work for so many years. For so many years, I kept it together. Other people thought it was me the whole time. I'm still friends with people that they had me fire. Who else is friends, close friends like that? And that's like, you had someone special there. And I'm a great comic. I'm a great manager. No one else has seen this industry from all those sides. And I never got credit. And then, you know, when I try to be open and honest, which is what I'm doing on this podcast now, I get banned. I get punished. I get hit over the head. And that's kind of why I always was afraid of rejection, because I always felt that when I was open and honest, I would get hit over the head like a fucking kid getting smacked in the head like an abused child, which I wasn't. I got toys from my parents. But that's how I kind of felt from the rest of the world. And I'm so tired of that, man. I just want to be me. I was right. You know, all these years I was told, don't collect toys. Don't play video games. Don't do this. There's guys with making millions on YouTube talking about action figures. There's people making millions playing video games. Natalie Cuomo's doing great on Twitch, playing video games. I wish I could play video. I try to play video games. I have a casual love for it. It's more of a nostalgia love for it at this point. Like, I was all about video games Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. But all these things that I was told, oh, this makes you a loser. It didn't. It made me a winner. I just had to believe in myself. I just had to take care of myself physically and mentally, and I'd be okay. And I think for years, because I was put down there, you know you're weird, right? You know you're weird, right? You know you're weird, right? Yeah, so are you. So's everyone who decided to do fucking stand-up comedy, okay? We're the weirdos, mister. Fuck you, Kraft. That movie stunk. It was okay. I gotta rewatch it. Here's my point, is that, like, I'm fine. And I'm actually an asset to a lineup on a show, to a business, to a comedy club. I'm an asset across the board, and I deserve the fucking praise. And I didn't deserve to be treated like that. I wanted to be honest. I wanted to be funny, And after all these years, you owed me a conversation. I sent this email in September to him because, I was like, let's see what happens. Let bygones be bygones. And, I was giving advice like, I want to get you guys to make up, but I don't want to make up now. I don't want to, because you're done. You're done. You may find another location. You may keep the New York Comedy Festival going. But for me, this is it. This is it. We're done now. Tomorrow you're closing. And after all of this, after this 20-year journey to where I am today, I am in a better place than I've ever been. And I have 26 fucking tattoos. And you're done. And I don't need to make peace with you because I'm still here. I never went away. I never stopped for a second. The only time I stopped was when I was forced to stop because of COVID. And it was a great 3 months. Actually, I hope COVID flares up again this year. But I kept doing the Disney podcast. I kept doing Zoom shows. I kept doing a lot of things. And I got to admit, during COVID, those are some of our best episodes. They really were. Go back, listen to Hunchback of Notre Dame, listen to Mulan. Those are some good fucking episodes. I never stopped. And I never am going to stop. So get used to it. Because I'm going to be here. And I'm going to be here every week with Andrew Lee. We're going to be reviewing every single wrestling pay-per-view. Next week, Starrcade 83, Ric Flair versus Harley Race, Greg Valentine versus Roddy Piper. That match I have seen. That is a barn burner. I think it's Roddy Piper's best match. You can quote me. If he doesn't like it, he's dead, so he can go fuck himself. And then the Briscoes taking on Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood. Those are the 3 big matches. But that is a triple main event if I've ever heard one. Yeah. I'm excited to review the whole show. I'm excited to talk about this with Andrew Lee. I love wrestling. My wrestling podcast did great. Well, I mean, it was great. It didn't do great. Now I'm excited to have it do great. We're going to start that next week. Next Friday, Starrcade 83. Please tune in. And for the future, you can follow me on Twitter at Ray Goots, Instagram Ray Goots, and on TikTok Ray Goots Comedy. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye to the past. Hello to the future. And the future is also the past because next week we are in 1983 with Starrcade 83. The granddaddy that started it all. Well, not for me. I didn't have any. Okay. We'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.